all full of authentic points of view. Myself alone have at least 22. They come from the things that we have been through. Those things can either make or break you. Life is full of ups and downs. It's our choice to either smile or frown. Please choose to smile today, because it's one thing that's free to give away. People say that life isn't hard, it's what you make of it. But what if only struggle surrounds you? What can you take from it? Life can be hard and some things aren't fair. Please listen to others just to be aware. All I'm saying, you never know what someone's going through. Just because they look happy doesn't make it true. Hopefully this podcast will help you see you are not alone, you at least got me. We are more alike than you may know, but if we stay quiet, we will never grow. Don't ever give up, because you got this. If you quit, think of all the opportunities that you could miss. Hey everybody, and welcome to Authentic Points of View. I'm your host, Danielle Boer, as always. Woohoo! This is going to be a fun one. And I'm honest, I have a migraine. I wasn't going to say it, but just in case I'm acting a little funky, my head hurts. But I like to be transparent with everybody. All right, so I have an awesome guest. I'm really, really, really excited because this is fun, and I don't think we've ever done this before. Anybody that she's different, and it's cool. Okay, so different is good. No, like I don't think we've never talked to an opera singer, so that is awesome. Okay, so cool. Now I'm gonna mess up your name. Ariella. Oh my goodness. Yeah. You can just say your own last name if you want.
Vaccarino.
Vaccarino. All right. Beautiful name. Hi. It actually sounds like an opera singer name as well. So that's really cool. She is a mom of 5 humans and 5 dogs. And, and she is a former opera singer, and now she has a company called Voice Lessons on the Go. She does a lot of stuff. She's podcast host. She's just all kinds of things. And here she is. Hello. Welcome to the show.
Hello, Danielle. Thank you for having me. I'm so sorry about your migraine. I've had them before, so I definitely know, especially during pregnancies when I would have them the worst. So I really feel for you today. Oh, yeah, so I appreciate that you going forward. I'm happy to reschedule, but this is great. But hopefully I'll make you feel better.
Yes, it's okay. That's the thing with me, is that I literally just keep pushing through. It's fine. I honestly was just thinking, I was like, I figured out that, and I didn't know at the time, I did a few episodes while I had COVID and I had no clue. Like I felt horrible.
Wow.
But later on, when I got the positive test, I was like, seriously? Like I was because it's just like I had, I already had people scheduled, and all of us are busy in the world. And so I was like, I'm just gonna keep going. And so but life
once
is
you got the positive, all of a sudden did you just kind of fall down? You're like, oh, I can't do anything now that I'm positive, even though you've been functioning the whole time.
Yeah, no, I think after I found out, I think like a couple days later, I still did. But of course, I couldn't when I was coughing, because you cannot talk while you're coughing. Oh. But like one of the episodes before I knew I was coughing like at the end, and I was like, oh, I'm so sorry, and I couldn't figure out why, and ta-da.
Oh, I'm glad you're okay.
Oh, that was a long time ago. Yeah, it's all good. Like I said, life goes on. And so like it helps me to just keep going, like regardless of what, I mean, now, of course, if I couldn't like open my eyes, then that would be a bad interview. like because I have some migraines where can't open my eyes. So anyway, oh, that's so silly. Okay, everybody that listens knows that they're just like, wow, this is a fun way. If this is your first time listening, I apologize. All right. So I'm just going to ask you, what inspired you to be an opera singer?
Well, I always was a singer. I mean, as a little girl, my voice stood out from the crowd. I think there's a story of like, I'm very little, like 5 or 6 years old, and we're all singing happy birthday at a party, and all the parents were staring at me because I had this huge vibrato. It was just always very obvious that I was a singer. It was never like a choice I had to make. I just was a singer. And it's interesting because my grandfather was also an opera singer, but I never heard him sing. By the time I came into his life, he was older and had retired, and I never heard him sing ever. So, but he was also an opera singer. It is, I think it's something that just gets passed down. My dad had a fantastic voice, but he went into business, and my kids all have great voices. So it was just something that I kind of, it was just who I was. It was no selection for me. I just was that person.
Oh, well, that's awesome. So, what, like for opera, what is your favorite language to sing in, or do you only do like what languages do you sing in, basically?
Well, I used to sing mainly and I haven't sung opera in over 20 years now because I since I became a mom, everything changed. But I was so driven and so focused for so many years. And it was Italian, French, and German. And then sometimes there were some other languages I'd be asked to do, and I would learn it for whatever role or whatever concert I was singing in. I was really comfortable in different languages. I was lucky with that. So any of the languages, I liked it all. I was a lyric color to a soprano, which is the highest kind of soprano.
Wow.
So I was the girl who had to hit the high notes, which is why also I really stepped away from it once I had kids, because you have to be absolutely perfect and in fantastic shape and well slept and totally healthy. And I'd be holding babies who were coughing on me in the middle of the night who wouldn't sleep, and then I'd have to get up and sing. And I found that extremely stressful. So I had to make a choice as a mom at a certain point to really step down from it for a while, So, and it's been a long while. I've been teaching. I teach piano and voice, and I created Voice Lessons to Go, which is a line of CDs and books for singing, and I make videos and content online about singing. But I myself haven't really been performing for many years because I had 5 kids, one after the other, and I couldn't deliver what I would need to deliver to do it.
Yeah, so I was a a fake soprano. No, I'm just joking. I always say
Oh
stuff
yeah,
is
you were
fake.
here?
Yeah, so no, not real. So what happened was, okay, in high school, I was a soprano, and for like we did show choir. Oh boy.
Okay,
In
good.
like 70s, like we did like Staying Alive and Knock Three Times, like literally. So those were
Yeah.
very, very high notes, like, and
Yes.
but I got my tonsils out my senior year, and that changed my
Okay.
voice. And then
Really?
yeah, because well, and plus I wasn't a real singer, so I wasn't like trained. I
Mm,
didn't do it all the time, and then I started
mm,
smoking, so that changed my voice. And
right.
then I quit smoking, and then years
Yeah.
later, I was like, okay, so I started going to church, and I don't know how it happened, but I ended up being in the choir there. Well,
That's
then,
awesome.
yeah, thanks. But then I was an alto, and then that's why I say fake soprano, because it was like, we don't have any sopranos now. Danielle, go over there. So I was like,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
but none of us sang loud. So like in opera, you literally project. I mean, like you can hear way up there, like when you're sitting
Yeah.
all over, And but with us, like they would. Well, we also had some men that sang so loud, like the pastor, like the tenors and stuff, and the bass.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I would do it, but that would hurt your ears and everybody's ears. But it was like every song, like when I
Oh,
watch it back, because we've had unfortunately a lot of members pass away. So we
oh,
like, well, I don't go there anymore. I'm in Georgia and that was in Ohio, but I'll watch back the us singing, And so all you hear is like, oh, no, no, the men. And I'm like, oh gosh, like, you can't hear anybody. That's okay, whatever. But so
oh,
that's why I say I was fake. But when I was pregnant is the whole point of this story. I was pregnant with my daughter. And so it got to the point
yeah.
where I first of all didn't have the stamina anymore and I couldn't breathe. And
Mm.
so
Yeah.
I
It's a serious thing when you're pregnant. Yeah.
yeah, and so like and their songs are so fast. Like we are literally like this
Hmm.
fast. Like we're clapping and we're singing this fast. And so I was like, oh.
All
And
right. So you
so
probably couldn't catch your breath because you're pregnant and it like pushes up on the
yeah,
kind of the diaphragm, and then there's just
yeah,
no space. I
yeah,
mean, just you lose the space for everything.
I
I
know.
totally feel
So
that.
So yeah, so I was like, I understand what you're saying. But yeah, so
Yeah.
how old are the kids now?
My oldest is 17. Then I have 16, I have 14, I have 10 and no, 11 and 9. So it's just I have them
Whoa.
all really close together. I didn't start till like I was 34, and before that I was a singer. I mean, I was lucky because I did have quite a few years of traveling and singing and having that experience.
Mm-hmm.
But then I just knocked kids out. I just boom, I got married and just boom. Yeah.
Hey, that's
So,
awesome.
but I feel like I'm coming up for air now after so many years. I'm like coming up and I'm trying to find some other parts of myself now because you really do have to sacrifice a lot of who you are when you're a mom. I'm not saying it in a bad way. It's just a fact. You have to sacrifice, a lot of the things you were going for before you became a mom. And now I can breathe a little bit again, and I'm starting to search out new things for myself. And that's how I started podcasting. I'm like, I'm doing something new, and I started doing some new things now. I'm trying to find my own voice again. It's kind of exciting.
That is exciting. And that would have been a really cool name for it too. Finding my own voice. Oh, that would have been cool. I like names, but but your names are cool
Yeah.
of yours. I like it. So okay, so with the podcast, what did you start the one by yourself first or the one where you have a co-host first or both at the same time?
Well, Well, I kept having this conversation. Like I felt like after, kind of after COVID, like, when we're all closed in for so long, I kept having this, which was kind of good for my family. We really had a lot of good experiences through that. But as I came out of it, I found myself having conversations with a lot of women and a lot of moms and just starting to be really fascinated with, well, what do we do now that the kids are getting older? And, I was like a talented person who really did stuff with my voice. Well, but what happens now? I mean, I'm not in my 20s. Am I going to go try and do it again? And there was like a conversation I started having with a lot of different people. Like, what do you do at this point? And what if you really had a lot of talent and you kind of put it down for a while? What do you do? It's just like somebody who was really good as a lawyer and like, do they just go back? And it's very different when you're in the arts because you can't just call someone up and say, "Oh, okay, I'm gonna work now," because I could do
Yeah.
that tomorrow. The question is like, am I gonna go pursue it? Do you pursue it? And what do you pursue? And who are you going against? And so I kept having these thoughts, and there was this one mom at basketball. Her husband was the coach, and she and I would take these walks around the track, and I would tell her my thoughts. And I was like, I just feel like I want to have this conversation with other moms, and she was having a whole thing she was going through about wanting to leave her job, and there was this foundation she wanted to start called Fuller Life, and it was totally different. Her thing has to do with services for senior citizens. I'm like everything like creative. I want to get moms to be creative, and so we would talk like a couple times a week while our kids would play basketball,
Mm-hmm.
and then we're like, well, maybe we should make it a podcast. It was literally like that. There was no, I never thought I was going to make a podcast, this woman, and that's the podcast we started called Momentum, and
Awesome.
it's follow the journey of two busy women on their path towards entrepreneurial success. As we're kind of coming back to life. But originally, I was going to make the Talented Magical Mommies Club, which is the podcast that's going to premiere in a couple weeks. Hopefully, by the time this comes out, it's out. And that's me having these conversations with moms in the arts and what do we do now and how are you living a life that's true to that part of yourself. But somehow Momentum started first because I didn't even know how to make a podcast. So that's what it's about. It's like, we don't know
Yeah.
what we're doing. This is all from scratch. Follow us. And that's what we're doing. But it's kind of, everything's kind of opening one thing and it's opening the next thing. It's exciting. Like I never thought I'd be on somebody's podcast. I honestly, I barely ever listened to podcasts. And then,
Yeah.
so then I went on Facebook and I looked, there's podcast pages and I posted that I'll be a guest. And here we are. Like, this is awesome.
Yeah, isn't it fun? Actually, uh, no offense to the host, but it's so much fun being a guest because you don't have to worry about the rest of it. Like you just show up and you're like,
Right? Totally.
yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
know.
totally.
I love being a guest. I really do. It's great. And actually, you know what? would be cool for you too is that sometimes they have panels. If you try to get on a panel, that is great. Like it really gives you a
I
lot
don't
of
know anything about it.
exposure. What'd you say?
Okay.
So,
I don't know anything about how to do that or what that
okay.
is.
So just in the groups that we're in, look if they say I need a, like, and say yours would be like about entrepreneur, because you started your business, or
Yeah.
like if it's about moms or whatever, it will say
Yeah.
specifically like, hey, I'm looking for so many people for a panel for whatever, and a lot of times it's women. I don't know why, but like I just
Yeah.
did one about domestic violence because that's one of my things
Oh,
that I do, like trauma and grief and stuff like that. I became a life coach, so that's something that I just started too, that's new for me, but yeah, so
fantastic.
no, thanks. So yeah, so if you look at certain things, being on a panel is really great because you're, first of all, it's fun. Second of all, you're exposed to the other people's audience as well. So like you're all like
That's cool.
exposing each other. Yeah, it's really cool. So I actually became friends with one of the girls that I was on a panel with, and then one of the other ones I was on a panel with, I'm going to reach out to her eventually because I want to start a second podcast. Nobody knows that. Oh, everybody just heard it. But yeah,
Oh,
so it's saying correct. No, I'm just joking. And it's about like trauma and grief, like specifically. And
yeah.
she unfortunately was molested. And so that's something that is sad, but she talked about it. So I want to reach out to her. But anyway, so you're exposed to different people's, and then the audiences, but then you like can form bonds with them and like do stuff with them as well. So
That's
you guys all kind
exactly.
of,
Love that.
yeah, it's great. And then you just
Yeah.
kind of grow together. Or I use everybody as a reference. Like, say, for instance, people I've interviewed literally like that have been doing podcasting way longer than me. I asked
Yeah.
them, like, hey, what microphone do you use? That's how I got this microphone because I have a different one
Yeah.
from before. Or,
Yeah.
hey, what do you use for this? Or whatever, whatever. And then it's like a really great community of people that are usually willing to help each other out. And it's a beautiful
That's
thing.
awesome.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, we're trying to do that actually on our podcast. Like everything we learn, since we're literally taking this journey, we know nothing,
yeah.
we share with the audience because we keep our thing is if you're out there and you want to do this too, we goofballs are doing it. So this is how, and
Yeah.
we're learning as we go. I mean, we're learning as we go. That's, yeah.
And that's life. And that's what I
Yeah.
love the name though, Momentum. That's a fantastic name. And it
It
has a
is
great,
Teresa. I can't take credit for it. Teresa came up with it. My co-host came up with it. I
yeah,
was so proud of her. Yeah.
that's a fantastic, good for her.
Yeah.
Because it
I
just makes,
know.
it makes so much sense.
Uh,
And so yeah, the more that you, and even you guys can go like on one together if you wanted to. I mean, it's whatever you want to do, but then you can
yeah.
talk about your shows and you could talk about like what you do and like you're doing now, but then you guys can do it together. It's just, and it's fun. And then you kind of just learn about people as well, just like we're doing, like I'm talking about myself on my
Yes.
own. But
Right.
but anyway, so all right.
But
Now,
we recently started interviewing people, right? So I'm
yeah,
doing interviews with her for Momentum, but I'm about to release my other podcast, the Talented Magical Mommies Club.
yeah.
And so I've been on my own doing it and having conversations with moms about, like, one of them I found out, she does like medical billing, but then I found out from somebody who knows her that she actually wants to write a book. And I was like,
Cool.
oh my God, I want to talk to her. I'm fascinated when people have like this thing in them that they want to do. It's like bursting out. And then whether they are going to do it or that they actually went and they did it, or they've never stopped doing it. So it's fascinating because we're having conversations. I'm having conversations like that with different people that are doing things like that. And I'm just enjoying it. I'm like, oh my gosh, if I can get this funded, this is like heaven to do this job. It's like just have conversations to do it. It's amazing.
It is. It's crazy. I like how fun it is and how amazing, and
Yeah.
like I said, like so I started last June and I still speak to a lot of the guests and vice versa. Like if I've been on somebody's, they reach out to me, and
Yeah.
it's so great, and people are just amazing. And so, and you learn every single episode, you learn something. And that's the
Yeah.
fun thing, even if you're on somebody else's. So,
Yeah.
so you said that your kids have great voices. Are any of them musicians or singers, or they just do it for fun?
It's funny because like I have not pushed it on them at all, which is so funny. But my oldest is a composer. He's very talented, has
Wow.
gorgeous voice. I mean, when they're young, when as they were young, they were always the ones singing for the thing. Whatever the thing was at school, they would be the ones to do it. As they get older, they kind of become more aware of themselves, and we'll see what they end up doing. But I always would, during the year we would do sports, and then during the summers I put them in like some sort of camp that had something to do with the arts.
Yeah.
But as they get older, they've got to make choices if they're gonna find it or not. So we'll see. They all have talent. We'll see what they want to do.
That is so awesome. Yeah, with my kids, so I have four, but I birthed three. I lost a couple too, but three are living. And so my bonus son, he ended up like none of them would do what I wanted. See, I could I wanted them to play the dang saxophone or clarinet. And like for boys, I was like,
Yeah.
okay, you can play a saxophone. Nope. Every single one of them played the trumpet, except for my middle son. Yeah, well, it's weird because when there's four, it's like, so he's the second oldest, but he's the middle son. So, anyways, he was rotten. And so, like, he literally, we went and were like renting a trumpet, and then he wasn't even going to band. And then, like, yeah. So, and it was like a lot of money. So, anyways, eventually, he just stopped. But the other one wanted to play. The third son played the flute. I'm like, the flutes? Like, where'd that come from? But he did so well. Like, that's what he wanted. We went and tried out the instruments, and then he
Yeah.
he did the flute. And so I was
Yeah.
like, oh. So my daughter, now she doesn't really know all of this stuff because they're a lot older than her. So they're 21, 19, 16, and she's 9. So,
Okay.
but she wasn't around. Well, she was little when they were playing instruments and stuff. She doesn't know about that stuff. And my one son doesn't play anymore, my bonus son. But anyway, so she said to me the other day, I was so corny. I like almost cried. She was like, something, something. I was like, oh, she's a very good singer, like amazing singer.
Yeah. Oh,
And
awesome.
and she's in the choir. And this was the first year she could join. And they sing, I don't know if you know this song. It's a French song. It's like belly belly bum bum belly bum bum. I don't know what it is and I can't sing. But anyways, it's like that. But there's a lot of
Oh, no.
high notes, and there's this song called something snow, winter snow or something snow, and the notes are very, very high. And she
Yeah.
can hit all of the notes. So she's a soprano. She does
Oh,
very
good
well.
for her.
Yeah. So, but anyway, we were in the store and she's like, I think I want to play saxophone. And I went, oh, and I started in the store. She's like, what's wrong with you? I was like,
So you played it, or you just love
I
it?
did. So I played clarinet and saxophone. And violin, which we bought her a violin. So she has a flute and violin, never took lessons. They're just sitting in the
Yeah.
house. Doesn't know how to do them. I played violin in 4th grade. That's it. And then, but they don't even have that as an option here.
Yeah.
That was in Maryland when I was in 4th grade.
Oh,
But then I didn't do it again. We moved to Germany and I just didn't play it again. And then in middle school, I started playing the clarinet. And then in high school, I played clarinet and then moved over to, oh boy, not tenor sax. Yeah. So, and
okay.
then, yeah. So I'm not good. Now, my mother played all of her siblings, except for like one that was a football player, were all in the band, and there's 6 of them. And
Wow. Did
my,
you continue to play after high school?
oh no, no, I wish.
Oh, too
So,
bad.
but they can, like, so the oldest one is, I think they're like almost 70. The oldest one is like almost 70. And literally they can all pick up their instruments
Wow.
and play their songs still from like I'm like, how in the world do you remember that? It's so cool. I'm proud of them
Yeah.
because I don't remember her.
But if you're into music, you also, this is me on my podcast, but you also could take lessons again. It's like, why not? I mean, if you like music that much, why don't you
Yeah.
do it?
Well,
Why not? I mean, you're not
I
dead.
love it.
Why
But
not?
well, It's because I take on so many things and then I get like,
Sure.
yeah, so
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
the
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
But I do love it. It's very relaxing. I have like I joke and say Dr. TikTok diagnosed ADHD and and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I really do have it. But so I keep taking on and taking on and taking on, and to the point where I'm just like so spread thin. And then I'm not
I
doing all
understand.
of my jobs well enough. So eventually,
Mm-hmm.
like once I get my business going and better with my coaching and get out of nursing, and stuff like that, and kind of transition over, and then I would love to. My sister
Yeah.
actually, I bought a guitar one time to learn. Never did, just had it. It was
Never touched
beautiful.
it.
But
Yeah.
so yeah, my sister wants to
Yeah.
learn
I always
guitar.
find that I do better when I have to teach someone, then I'll learn it, or if I'm working with somebody. Like the
Yeah,
podcast, like I don't know if I would have ever started podcasting had I not done it with Teresa.
yeah,
Because I'm a lot like you. I got a lot going on in my brain. And it's like, but if I have somebody I'm doing it with or doing it for, like when people pay me to teach them lessons, I'm on top of it. I'm
uh-huh.
amazing, right? But if I have to do it for just randomly, like even teaching my own kids, doesn't always happen, so it really helps to have that kind of incentive or like buddy system, I think, with our kind of brains.
Absolutely. And that's the only so that's how I got started in the podcast. Was my boyfriend's like, "You love to talk. You should do a podcast." Because I wanted to do a
Why
like
not? Yeah.
like a talk show. And he's like, "No, start off as a podcast." Well, I knew people that did it. So they became my producers at first. So if it wasn't for them setting up everything and doing all that
Yes.
stuff, I literally drove to their house, which was like an hour and a half away, and they set it up for me. Then it
Yeah.
wasn't working, so I had to use theirs. And like the first couple they would be on with me, like I would do everything, like I would talk and stuff, but they kind of guided me through, and they would send me like papers like, hey, try to structure it like this or whatever the case may
Yeah.
be. And so that was very helpful, because otherwise like I really wouldn't have known.
Yeah.
But that's why like now I kind of feel comfortable. But my second one is not going to be video, because it is very hard to edit video. And again, I'm honest. And
Yeah.
and so I want to either do it as a live stream, but you have to build up people that, an audience,
I'll watch it. Yeah.
or just audio. And but the reason I want to do the other one is because it's so specific. And like with this one, there's so many different topics that it's hard to, and again, I'm being honest, like grasp a certain audience, because like it's so vast of
It's
what
all
it is,
over.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So like you guys are like talking about moms and different things, like that's specific, so people can find it, like
Yes.
it's easier to find. Or if somebody's
Yeah.
having an issue, they're like, oh, I'm gonna listen to this because it can help me with this. But mine is kind of like,
Yeah.
ooh. So the other one would be specifically for just just trauma or PTSD, or anybody going through that, or grief. And all of us grieve at some time, so unfortunately it's sad. And
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
as I start doing it and start getting into coaching, I'm like, this is like working in the ICU, because the ICU was so mentally like draining. It was hard. And so like being a coach for people that are grieving is like so rewarding and amazing, but it's so sad because their stories are, so you have to like stay strong and like, like be like, okay, I'm just gonna get them through it. And so, but it's so amazing and rewarding. So just like you guys talking to moms and helping and like all that stuff is,
Yeah.
it's a beautiful thing. So all right. Now
Well,
what
the other host on my show,
mhm.
one of her things that she is creating, she's also doing something about grief. She's creating a course, and it has to do with grief management. So
Oh,
I
nice.
should put you in touch with her because she's really fascinated about that and wanting to do something in that area as well. So you guys should chat with each other.
Yeah, I would love to. And I would love to actually
Yeah.
have her on when I eventually do it, because I want to have like experts on,
Yeah.
and yeah, and like people that
Yeah.
are actually grieving and stuff like that. Um so
Mhm.
again, I don't know when I'm gonna start it, because I'm,
I
doing a lot of
understand.
things.
Yeah.
But it's something that I'm planning on doing. So speaking of business, how did you start your voice lessons on the go? Like, when did that start? Or like
voice lessons to go.
To go. Okay.
Yeah. So it was, so I was an opera singer. So imagine me, an opera singer, young, living in LA. And to make money, I would teach voice lessons. And I never realized I was a teacher. I just was doing it literally like to make money. Like I never realized I actually had a teacher calling in me until many years later.
Mm-hmm.
And I would go from house to house to house, literally in Beverly Hills, house to house to house with my car, and sometimes my little dog. It's very funny. And
Oh.
I would teach lessons. And I kind of fell into this fantastic community of parents that they all recommended me. And I, in my 20s, I literally, that's what I would do. I'd go from street to street to street, and some of them would give me dinner and they would invite me to their events. And it's a very interesting thing. I would help all these kids in their shows. And anyway, I was teaching so many students. And one day I'm like, I could just record this. And this was, now keep in mind, this was before like big, like YouTube-ish, and before like there was like a million of everything, right? So I'm like, I could just record it. And I had a friend with something called a 4-track. And back then that's how you recorded things. And so I borrowed it for the day. I knew nothing about recording. And I lived on, it was 6th Street in Fairfax, so it's very busy right there. So my house was loud, like cars are going by. So I took some blankets, I put them on the windows with clips. And one day, it was just one of these, I would say ADD bursts, right? Because I also am that kind of brain. I'm like, I'm just gonna record it. And so I recorded it. I just pretended I was teaching somebody, and I recorded a CD in a day, right?
Wow.
And I didn't think much of it. And I remember my parents at the time, because all I cared about was being an opera singer. So for me, it was this weird little thing I just decided to do. And I knew somebody who was really good at art, for a family friend. And so he made me a cover. And then I found this thing called CD Baby. So I put it on CD Baby. And I started calling stores and asking them if they would carry it. And they did. And I started doing all these things that I wasn't supposed to be allowed to do. Everybody's like, well, that's not how you do it. You need to get a publisher. And I'm like, oh, but I did it. I just called them, and oh yeah, they're putting it on their counter. I asked them, because the thing is, I will say that trying to become an opera singer is so hard. There's so much rejection, and you work so hard and you prepare so much, and you rarely get the payoff. And so I was really used to doing things that were uncomfortable and hard. So I had no problem calling a place and asking to talk to a buyer, right? Like because I didn't know what it meant, because I wasn't in business. I didn't know you're not supposed to do it. So I started off, and all of a sudden I figured out how to get on Amazon, and I sold a couple 100,000 of these CDs, and that's how I made volume 1. So I made volume 2, volume 3. Every time I made one, I made it in a day, and and then I got married and I started having kids, and all of a sudden, like, this became my business. I had no plan for it, and I started making YouTube videos, but that was before everybody was on YouTube. And I kind of let it go as I got super deep into my little kids. But that's how it started. And, I was always just very comfortable teaching. I was like, sure, let me just record. I can record it for you right now, so just tell me what you want. So that's how it started.
How cool. That's so, like, first of all, impressive, I'd say, to do it in one day. Good for you. Like, that would be difficult for me to sit down and do something unless,
well, let me say yeah.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I would say something I really learned from that moment in my life is, as an opera singer, you work on things till you are absolutely perfect, right? And you don't want anyone to hear you sing till it's perfect, because you only get that one try. You have to be perfect. And it also holds you back from doing a lot of things in life, because you're always afraid of showing them something not perfect. And with this one, I didn't care. Like, I'm just going to record it. And I'll tell you, it's not perfect. It's like, I think you might be able to hear some dogs barking in the background, but the quality that what I offered was great. It's beginner voice lessons. It's great. I know what I'm doing. It's easy to follow. If I would have waited till I had enough money to go into a studio to get a recording engineer, I never would have made it. I never would have made it. And it's a huge lesson in my life. Sometimes you just have to do it. You can always make it again. You can always make a volume 2 that's better, right? So that's a big lesson for me that I learned from that moment. I'm like, oh, I have the ability to just do things sometimes.
And that's a good point. And thank you for saying that, because a lot of times in life, like, that's what I talk about too. I was so scared of everything. So I waited till I was 40 to do all these things that I've always wanted to do. And like, that's a great point, and you're an awesome person because you're like, you know what? No, let's just do it, right? There's no point of being scared of something you don't even know like how it's gonna end up. Like, and so it ended up being fantastic and wonderful, and look, it changed your life, and now you've been making a living off of it, but you're also helping people. And so how cool is that? Good for you. Like, good for you. You go, girl. But
Good
but
for
that's,
you.
yeah, because it's really good to say, like you just said, it is a good lesson. Just do it. You don't know how anything is until you just try, you just do it. So
Yeah.
what is your, like, what is the first thing you would tell someone like for that wants to be a singer that has like no experience at all, like volume one, like what is the first step, like what do they need to do?
Well, I mean, that's a really big question because it depends on the talent of the singer too,
Okay.
right? And depends on, like, are we talking about like a really talented singer? Are we talking about somebody who's never
No,
sung before? Yeah.
like somebody like, hey, I think I want to sing, and they like just are starting, like they don't know, they don't know if they have talent or not because they haven't really,
Right.
they just sing in the car or something. Like those
Right.
kind of
Well,
people.
I mean, there's so many ways to go. I mean, if you just want to sing for fun, or if you think you want to sing professionally, the best thing to do really is to get an opinion from a teacher to find out if you're good. You know, it's
Okay.
not your mom. You know, so I actually have something, and I mean, this brings it up, but on my website, you can get a vocal assessment. People send me recordings of their voice and their questions, and I honestly let them know what I think of their voice, but I'm very kind about it and constructive. It's funny because some people, they have these incredible voices. They send me these, and they don't know that I think I might be able to sing, and they're amazing. And then some people send me these things, and they're like, "Oh, I'm almost professional," and their voices are like, eh. So it's like I don't think people always know what they have, but I do think a lot of times, most times, if you have this desire to sing, there is probably a voice inside of you. So I would, depending on what satisfies you, get with some sort of singing group. You know, you can do it at the junior college. You can join a choir, or you can join a musical, or you can get it in some sort of a band or a jazz band. Just start singing. Go do open mic nights. Sing with your friends. Go do karaoke. Try and get voice lessons if you can't afford them. Buy voice lessons to go, or buy somebody else's voice lesson CDs, or try and sing to things online. Get with a teacher if you can. That's ideal, and you really have to like the teacher, and find out what they think about your voice. And I would say sing everywhere you can, because you never know who's listening, where that opportunity might be, and you want to, you want to stand with confidence. You want to give 100% every time. A lot of times people like hold back while they sing because they're kind of afraid to let it out.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're afraid to let it out, then people don't know you have it. So you're actually doing such a disservice for yourself. They're afraid to embarrass themselves by letting out what they have, but then no one will know. I'd rather them say no, knowing everything you've got, than no, and you've only shown them 50%. So it's a lot about confidence. I would say confidence is one of the biggest parts of the pie. It really helps when you have a good voice,
Yeah.
But confidence, how you deliver that voice. And you know what? Your voice doesn't even have to be as good if you have good confidence and good personality and charisma. So there's a lot you can do with a voice, and there's a lot you can do in a studio. And if you're in a band, there's, you only have to have a certain amount of good voice if you've got a lot of personality. I mean, there's a lot you can do. There's a lot out there. It's not always a lot you can get paid to do, but there's a lot you can do. Yeah.
Awesome. So if somebody is a good singer, okay, let's just say they are a good singer and they know that, what is a vocal warm up that you suggest? Do you mind, like, you don't have to do it like full out, but like, is there anything very simple that somebody could, that you say, like, this is a must to do, before you perform or whatever? I don't know. I'm not in the industry, so.
The must is not any particular warm up. The must
Okay.
is that you warm up, right? So you need to warm up your voice. You can warm up your voice so many ways. You can do ma, just like a yawn sigh, simple things, right? Simple things. You could start with ma, five note patterns, and just take it up, ma, change it on different vowels. Or you could start by singing your music. If you don't know how to vocalize at all, You can sing your music on a hum first, and then you can sing it kind of gently, and then you maybe, or you sing it a little lower, and then you bring it up higher. But the idea is that just like a runner, you wouldn't just go run, you would warm up. You do need to warm up the muscles, right? If you go from 0 to 10 with your voice, you're going to hurt your voice.
Okay.
So that's the idea of a warm up. Now, to develop your voice is different, and there's all kinds of vocalises to do that. You know, if you want to work on your height or projecting, and that's why you just listen to some voice lesson CDs or downloads or YouTube videos, and train every day or train every other day, and don't talk really loud when you go to parties, and try not to smoke because it messes up your voice. And there's many things you can do to protect your voice. And it's the point is not to go from 0 to 10. And if you're serious about it, you should probably get a teacher, a good teacher.
Yeah. Awesome.
And the teacher has to understand also what you have. Not every teacher is the right teacher for you. That's really important to know. You've got to feel like they get who you are.
Yeah.
I say that with my piano students too. Like, I have so many kids that I teach, and I always tell the parents, bring them and just let's make sure they like me. I don't want them coming to me unless they got to like me, because then they're going to want to practice, because it's already hard enough to practice. They got to like the teacher. So that's for adults too.
Good point. Because you don't want to force yourself to, you're so cute. You don't want to force yourself to like be like, because like you said, they're not going to do it. Like even adults, like if you don't like you'll be like, no, thanks.
Yeah.
But yeah, so my son was in theater, my oldest son.
Yes.
My second son, he does not love the arts at all.
Okay.
My oldest, like, so all three other kids, even the one I didn't give birth to, they're very similar, the first and the third. So they and that's why they didn't get along. I love you boys, but they like he was 4 when he moved in with us, my bonus son. And my oldest one is like I think 7 years older than him. Yeah. And so they are so similar that they just but they're very artistic and it's okay. They're very artistic and they're very like musical. They're just like so talented in so many things. And so when my son came to Georgia, I was so sad. He didn't do theater anymore because it's a bigger area here. There was more people, there was more talent, and it was different. But he did stay in the band, and then for some reason he wanted to do winter guard, so that was cool. So he learned how to do the flags and stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
I know. I was like, okay. But when he did theater, he had this song. He was the Nightingale, and he was in a cage. It was funny because he's a big boy. He was in a cage and he was a bird, and he literally whistled this high pitched song, and it was beautiful. And they thought it was a recording. They didn't think it was real. And it was so good. And I wanted him to pursue other things. And he's like, nope, no thanks. So, and it was sad because he was so good at the trumpet. He was so good at everything that he's very like introverted and he just doesn't like to be around a lot of people. So I really want him to go to school, and I'm like, yo, you can get a scholarship or you can, play your trumpet in college. And he's like, no. And he's a cook, and that's what he wants to do. And he's 21. I'm like, okay. Do what you want.
There is a point that these kids, they start making choices and they start letting things go. And it's heartbreaking. It's like, but you played baseball your whole life. It's like, I'm done. And you're just, it's hard as a parent. But if you think about it, every adult we know, people do choose paths in life. And then maybe they come back to things in different ways, but we don't really know, like baseball playing, jujitsu, musical theater, like we don't know people who do all of that, but so many kids do all of that, right? So you do have to focus in life at some point. But I've had a little heartache with my kids letting certain things go too, and you just hope they come back to it, or you just whatever, it's just life.
Yeah, and you know what? Like, as long as they're happy and healthy and like successful in whatever they are doing, it's like, it's okay. I can't force them to play the saxophone, so whatever. I I don't know.
But you got your daughter. So.
Yeah, I have hope. No, I'm just so silly. I'm so silly. I'm so sorry. I literally, like, if she does play the saxophone, I will be the most annoying parent in the world and be like, wow. I was like that with the boys.
That might be what it is. But that might be what it is for your son. Your older son may be this like amazing parent to his child who wants to be in theater. And because he had that background, he's going to be the funnest dad who lets his kid do it. So you might have planted a seed for the next kid. You never know where that's going to go.
Yay. Okay. Yeah. I'll look forward to that. No, because it's fun to see them like enjoying themselves, right? No matter what it is, they could be on the debate team. And if they're proud of themselves and they're enjoying it, it's like such a good feeling as a mom to like see them accomplish something and just be proud of themselves. It's not about you just being proud of it, because it's just a joke about the saxophone. It doesn't matter what they play. Of course, I didn't force them to do something they didn't want to do, but it's just the fact of like, you're proud of seeing them get so excited. And so, especially when they're little and they do play baseball and they hit it for the first time and they're like, so and they don't run because they're just like, oh, and and it's such a good feeling. But then it's like, you got to run, you're going to get out. So now really quick. Okay.
But, it's hard as a parent.
Okay. Go ahead.
Go on.
Go ahead.
No, it's fine. Go on.
Go ahead. No, what is it?
Okay. I was just going to say that sometimes as a parent, it's hard because we get really invested in what they're doing, to the point that we become friends with all the other kids that are doing it with their parents, and we buy all the stuff, and we get so set in on it. And then if they do let it go, it's like a breakup. It's like, oh, okay, I thought we were doing this, but I guess it's not for me. So, so you want to support your kid, but yet you do have a little grief, because you're like, but this was our life for 6 years or something. Yeah. So.
Yeah, especially in a small town, because you grow up with the same kids and the same parents. And because in Ohio, like, everything was so tiny that like literally the same kids from like first grade are the ones when we left and he was in 10th grade. Those are the same parents, the same kids, the same everything. Like, and so it's hard you're either playing on the team with them or against them, like it's not, it's just, I don't know. It makes it's different, but it's okay. But I just wanted to ask you this, and it's so random because it has nothing to do with any of these things.
Let's hear it.
Yay. Okay. So I started stand-up comedy last year, right when so when I was turning 40, I took classes. So having a teacher was good. She taught me, like, I did not know how to hold a microphone or do anything. Of course you would, because you're a singer. But how did you get started in improv?
Oh, wait, I'm an opera singer. Opera singers don't use microphones.
Oh, you're right. Okay. So how, you're like, let me clarify. So how did you get started? Well, improv, you guys don't hold microphones either, right? Do you?
Oh, my improv. So exciting. So I've been doing comedy improv. So years ago, I used to do it.
Okay.
Before children. So it's over 20 years ago. And I was in something called the Groundlings, taking classes. I wasn't in their company. It's very hard to get into the company. So you have to go up levels. And it's like a lot of people from SNL come out of there. I mean, it's like a really, like, this is the place in LA to do it. And I mean, so many famous people have done the Groundlings. So I had gone 3 levels, which is a very big deal because, at a certain point they start cutting you. So, and I was on the waiting list to continue. And then I got distracted with other things in my life. I didn't continue it. And then, had the whole kid thing, blah, blah, blah. So now, and then we moved out to the Valley. We don't live in the city anymore. And that's like very city. And this year, I had been thinking about it for years. Oh, I wish I could do it again. Oh, one day I'm gonna go back. And I went back, and it was huge. It's part of this whole transformation that I've gone through. I made my hair all crazy. Like, this is something has been bursting out of me, and it's like been slowly coming out. And so, and that's what I'm talking about in my podcast, the Talented Magical Mommies Club, because like you can only bottle it up for so long, and it starts to burst, right?
Yeah.
So I this year told my husband, I think I want to go back and take Groundlings classes. And, and you got to pay for it. It's not cheap. And you got to make time for it, like outside of doing stuff for the household. And there's like, nobody's paying me to do it. It's one thing if I'm going to teach.
Yeah.
And I did it. And he was totally supportive. And I'll tell you, I was scared to death because it was like over 20 years. And not only that, I was like young person when I used to do it,
Yeah.
young, not attached to anything. And I felt myself like the first few classes almost apologetic. I was twice the age of the people in the class. And, I'm the only parent in the class, but I just like peeling the layers off, doing this improv comedy, which I've always loved. It felt, but every week I would hate it so much and love it at the same time. It was like torture, and it was like amazing. And I kept going back. And so I finished the first level and I got advanced to the second level. And I was like, I don't know if I'm going to do it. I don't know if I'm going to do it. And last week I just started level 2. And this time, though, when I started, it's like a new teacher. And I can feel all the changes that have happened since this all started. It's like now I didn't even have the podcast when I started before. I have podcasts and I've been teaching a lot more, and I just felt very comfortable. And I looked around the class. I'm like, oh, not everybody's in their 20s in this class. And I don't know. I just I feel like I'm opening. It's all a part of this thing I'm going through right now at this point in my life, So I love it. I love it.
I love that too. I don't know why I didn't do improv. I love improv, and that helps me actually like in the interviews as well. So, that's something that helps you because you can go back and forth with someone. And,
Yeah.
but like I have always my whole entire life wanted to be on SNL, and now I'm old. But there's
Listen,
still
I'm
hope.
older. I'm older. So, we're not dead. Just keep that. I always say that sounds terrible. I'm very morbid, but I'm like, we are not dead. So,
Right.
We just go have some fun, and I even started teaching improv. So now I have an improv group that I teach. It's for kids,
Aw,
but
how cool.
because I wanted more of it, and it didn't see any classes by me, and so 2 of my kids are in it, and this nice group. But I don't know, I just love improv. But comedy, stand-up comedy, that's a
Ugh.
whole, I listen to it all the time. I'm a huge fan of it. I'm always listening to it. But that's hard.
It's
So I
hard.
commend you for that.
Well, no,
Yeah.
I've been taking a break because, and you know what's funny? Once I decided, like, so once I started editing my own podcast, I couldn't do it anymore because it was too much. I was doing it like 2 to 3 times a week and working full time as a nurse, being on call at the hospital, taking care of my daughter, which is she's the only one in the household right now, the 9-year-old, and then like doing my podcast and then editing my podcast and blah blah blah. So I had to take a break from it, but and then I was like, I'm going to be a life coach. So I took all those classes, several of them, and got certified in different things. And then, so it's like now I'm trying to start my business. And I was like, oh, no, wait, I don't want to do stand up because it's not as positive as. So I'm into like manifestation and all that stuff. So I was like,
Yeah.
well, I shouldn't make fun of how big I am all the time on stage if I want to not be big anymore. So then I was like, well, it doesn't really go with what I am trying to like portray as like a coach now, So I would have to literally like reinvent the whole thing, write my whole sets over again
Right.
because
Yeah.
something funny just happened. I mean, I don't think it's that funny because it involves me, but it was hilarious. So my lovely friend from Ohio decided to it's not funny. It is funny. Everybody will laugh. Nobody's heard about this on here, so here we go. Okay. You have to laugh at yourself, people. Okay. So I was a nurse.
Okay.
I still am a nurse, but I was in the ICU. And she posted this thing of Rebel Wilson and she had poop all over her. And she said, "Hey Danielle, remember when you got shat on?" And I'm like, "Yeah, thanks, I do remember that." So everybody we used to work with comments, and she posted the picture of poop on me. She posted it on the internet. I was like, ew, but that was a hilarious joke. Because if you think your job is shitty, think again. Mine literally is. So,
See, but that's positive. That's not negative. I mean, as long as your comedy is fun, like you're not, as long as it's, it's not like it's fun humor. That's fun talking about being, it's like, and as a life coach, I bet you're going to be able to I bet it's going to shift for you and your comedy will change. Maybe it'll have like a funny positive effect on it, and plus you're using it in your podcasting.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I do use I definitely, and I wrote a sitcom pilot and I haven't done nothing with it, but I wrote a sitcom pilot. I'm visually going to write a book. And so I use comedy in everything that I do, even as a nurse. when people are healing and they're say they just got diagnosed with cancer or something horrible, and whatever the case may be, I try to make them laugh. I try to distract them. And so I use comedy in life.
That's a gift. That's a gift for them. That's beautiful.
Yeah. So thank you. It makes me feel good. It makes them feel good. So if I can be a distraction for a little bit of time, whatever time they're with me, then I will gladly do it. Now I'm serious when I need to be. I hold their hand. I'm there for them. I let them cry. But then I also ask them about their life and ask them about this and that. And then we start like laughing and talking, and it's just like, it's really for the time being, it kind of takes them away from, oh, I just found out this horrible news, you know? So yeah, I really just like to help people regardless. But no, so like a lot of my jokes are like about how I'm big and this and that. And like, I'm trying to think, well, I can make fun of my name anytime, so that's okay. Because my name is like the worst name in the world for a female comedian because it's spelled boo her, you know, and people pronounce it wrong. So, but call me to the stage and boo me, and that's not what you want as a comedian. You do not, you don't want to be booed before you even talk. Like that's not right. Like
there's so much you can make jokes about. I mean, you don't have to do it about your size. There's anything can be funny, you know. So. And if you're talking with all sorts of people, I mean, you can make fun of anything. I mean, or have fun with anything.
Yeah, that's true. Well, thank you. I might go on Sunday now that you say it, but I gotta really write down. I gotta write everything. So okay. Now, speaking of that, you just gave me advice, and I thank you. Do you have any?
Sorry. No, I am a teacher and a mom.
I appreciate it. Believe you me, I really do appreciate it because it's true. Like that's the thing. Like I did it because I've always wanted to do it, and then like I was like, well, I'm really busy, so then I kind of put it on the side. But I think I can like at least start doing it like once a month again or something, get back into it. And because I love it, it's fun. I mean, it is scary, and people staring at you is not fun, but it's fun when they actually laugh and enjoy it. So do you have any advice for moms that are juggling like a career and family, like life at home? What would you tell them? Like one thing, of course. We could tell them a million things, but
I mean, I tell them a million things. It's just, you know, there's times that you really do have to put yourself down and not down like you're bad, like you're bad, but you have to kind of put your dreams and wishes down. I believe it. And that you do have to take care of the little babies in front of you. And I know everybody tries to say you can do everything, but I don't see that that's possible. I think that, you know, if you're going to be a parent, there's times you got to take care of the babies, and they come first, you know, and then hopefully you get them on some stronger footing, and then you can come back to yourself a little bit. You don't want to lose yourself entirely. But I think there is a reality to motherhood. It's very hard, and it pulls everything out of you. If you do it right, it pulls everything out of you, you know? So, and I did it so extreme with the 5 kids in a row. And, so I don't know, just give yourself some grace, and you're not going to do anything perfect, and you just be the best person you can be. Nothing's going to be perfect. And every mom is going to have something she does better than you do. And you're going to look at this mom with the perfect shiny house, but they're going to look at you with the kids that get to put slime all over their hands because you're not freaked out about messing up the table. And everybody's going to wish they're the other person, you know, and someone's going to have more money, and someone's going to have a nanny. And then some little kid is going to wish that their mom, they didn't have a nanny, and that their mom was sitting with them. You know, it's like, it's never going to be perfect. So you just got to do your best. And it's different. Every kid is different. You never know when a kid's going to have a problem, a medical problem, a mental health issue. Marriages are different. Money, finances are different. People can be making lots of money, but they live somewhere really expensive. I mean, you just have to really try to enjoy what's in front of you. I mean, I don't know if that's advice. It's just what it is, right?
Yeah,
it's what it is. It's not perfect. Yeah.
Right. That's the thing. Don't beat yourself up because, you know, I had my oldest one at 18 years old. And so, when I look back and, I actually got a lot of praise, like, which was cool. So, I never took like, is it Lamaze? What do they call
Lamaze?
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
Lamaze.
You can tell
Yeah.
I didn't take it because I'm a nurse and I don't even know. Well, I'm not that
Yeah.
kind of nurse, so I don't ever work, I've never done labor delivery or nothing like OBGYN. But yeah, Lamaze classes. I didn't take any of that. And to be
Yeah.
honest, my day was very busy. I had worked half of a day, went to court, got a restraining order against my son's father, and then went in to have my son. So very busy day. And then I didn't take classes, and my mom, love her. She's changed a lot, but she was like
Uh,
she's very judgmental. She was yelling at me like throughout the labor,
oh,
and it was like 20 hours. Okay. It was horrible. And she was yelling at me and just like making it not pleasant. So it was my mom and her best friend who was like a second mom to me and me. Okay. So the doctor, when I went to push and have him, she was so proud of me. She was like, tell your mom that you're doing amazing because you never took class. Da, 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 da. And
yeah.
then my son actually ended up having jaundice and
Yeah.
um, but I couldn't drive because I just had a baby, so somebody would have to come drive me. And I was very adamant about it. And I kept saying, hey, something is wrong, something is wrong. Like, and it was getting worse and worse and worse. And then also, like, I tried to, this is TMI, but I tried to breastfeed and I was young and it hurt so bad. It felt like somebody was stabbing me and he was losing weight, losing weight, losing weight. And so I said, something's wrong. And they're like, well, you're doing it right. And I'm like, no, something is wrong. And so they were like really proud of me, how I was like, I was like, no, I'm fighting for my baby. You know what I'm saying? And so
Yeah.
there's good things that I did. And then there's stuff that he's mad at me for, and he's 21 and he's still mad at me from when he was 5. So, I moved them from state to state twice. And, I
Yeah, it's
mean,
hard.
the thing is you're not perfect. And if you feel like you're making the choices the best for them and to protect them, then that's the choice that you make. And that's what I did. And so you can't reverse and take back the past or things that you can't do that. Like you can't be like,
Right.
okay, I'll go different. You can't. But all you
Yeah.
can do is work towards something new and try to fix it in the future. Like for example, I raised my daughter different than I raised my boys because I was very overprotective and they rebelled. So I learned, okay, don't do that. And now I have a guy, like my ex-husband and I have been divorced for a few years, but my new, well, he's like my fiance, whatever, but I always call him my boyfriend. But he really
Yeah.
is like, he tells me, he's like, hey, listen, you can't be as overprotective with her because she has to know certain things to protect her, right? It has
Yeah.
to protect her. She has to be aware. Times are
Yeah.
different now. Internet have access to everything. So,
Yes.
don't beat yourself up. Do the best that
Yeah.
you can do. And, I mean, there's not a manual that comes with the baby when the baby comes out. There's books you can read, but everything is your own experiences and talk about as you go. That's what parenting is. It's like you learn as you
It's
go.
improv.
Yeah, it
It's
is.
total improv.
You add another
I
one and you're
remember
like,
when, yeah. Well,
go
I
ahead.
remember when they sent me home with my baby. I'm pretty sure every first time mom feels like that. I remember it being like, "You're gonna send me home with him? What am I? What am
Yeah.
I? What do I know?" By kid two, it was a breeze, but that kid one thing, man, that was really scary. I really don't know how they send you home without like having a nurse standing in the background for a week or something. But it's like you do not know what you're doing, but somehow we get through it. It's
Right.
it's pretty
Yeah,
pretty shocking. It's pretty traumatic,
it is.
So I
And
can't imagine you 18 years old with, without a dad there to help. I mean, and a mom yelling at you. That's a lot.
yeah, well, and I lived with her for a little bit. Actually, him and I had an apartment together. And then TMI, he was cheating on me. So I moved out when I was like really, really pregnant. I'm like 9 months pregnant. And
Oh,
and then I stayed with my mom until he was like almost a year. But yeah, oh no, my mom always yelled. And then that's what happened. I became a yeller. So, and no offense to my mom and not blaming it all on her, but because she would be like, stop yelling at them. And I'm like, but she's like, don't be like
yeah,
me, stop yelling. So with my daughter, I'm not like that at all because it does not work.
mhm,
I'm telling you. But I became that
mhm.
that same way, the yeller of the ooh, and like, it's too
Yeah,
much. Like you can't, I mean, oh, anyway, it's giving me flashbacks. No, I'm just joking. But anyway, so yeah,
Right.
so it is what it is. And you just, as you say, you just learn as you go. And but never stop fighting for your kids. Like I had to literally fight them. I was like, something is wrong. He lost 2.5 pounds. His stomach looked like this.
Wow. Oh my
So,
gosh.
yeah, it was scary, and people wouldn't believe me because I was young. So no matter how old you are, you could be like 40 and married for 15 years, and you're still going to be lost at first and be like, oh my gosh, this is hard. What do I do? You could be
Yeah.
16 and
Hmm.
young as heck and still be like, oh my gosh, what do I do?
Yeah.
So no matter what your situation is, even if you had a surrogate or you adopted or whatever, it is, it's hard being a parent. So
It's very hard. I mean, it's so rewarding, and I wouldn't change it for
it
anything,
is.
but it's so hard, and it's yeah. You know what I'm trying to do now, because now that I'm older and I'm sleeping again. You know, there was like years I swear I was pregnant or breastfeeding for I don't know how many years straight. It was ridiculous. I was like a zombie. But
Oh.
I know as a teacher I'm really fun, right? And I sometimes I wasn't giving my kids that part of myself because I needed it for work. But by the
Mhm.
time I got to my kids, I tapped that. That was drained. And so now I think because everything slowed down during COVID, and I really stopped teaching, like teaching boys during COVID. It was ridiculous with the mask. It was ridiculous. So I don't know. I think I learned a little bit from that period of my life, and I'm really trying to give more of the fun part of myself to my kids because I want them to have good memories.
Yeah.
I want this to be a happy memory, all of it for them. So
Yeah.
I'm kind of a fun eccentric person, and it's hard because when a fun eccentric person has to also get someone to clean their room, that's not fun and eccentric. It's
No.
like, where's
No.
the balance in that? I'm a fun
Yeah.
person to make your kids do creative things and have fun, but then
Yeah.
there's regular stuff that still needs to happen, and so that's always a balance for me. It's like, it's so it's interesting because for years I was in kids' lives before I had children because I was teaching all of these kids
Yeah.
all the time, and I was this like positive influence in these people's lives. And literally, all the families would invite me to all their events. I was this confidant to their kid, and
Oh.
but for my own kid, I couldn't do it as well because
Yeah.
I had to make dinner and someone had to clean the dog poop. You know what I mean? Like it
Right.
sounds because I didn't get to be that part because I had to do the other stuff. So
Right.
that's a balance, and so we're working on it. I'm working on it, but I want them to know this fun side of me too. It shouldn't just be people that pay me that know this fun part of me, right?
Yeah, good point. That's a very good point. And that's why um with my little girl, I like try to have fun with her as well. Like I have to
Mhm.
say, "Hey, clean up your room. Why didn't you get your clothes from on top of the dryer?" Like literally for like 5 days every day. I'm like, "Get your clothes."
Yeah,
And then I didn't do good following up because then the next day when it's time to get ready for school, I'm like, "Are your clothes still on the dryer?" Yeah. I'm like, "Hello."
yeah,
But but I
yeah,
also like to like do fun things with her and make it light and fun, and like we do silly voices and we do this, or like she likes to
yeah.
bake, and so we do the things and stuff I don't really like to do. I have to do better. She wants to do my makeup so much, and you see I don't wear makeup, and
I
so she's
barely do.
like,
Yeah,
you promised me on Wednesday, which was and I'm just like, I'm so I have to do better with that. And I go get my nails done with her, like my toes done with her and stuff because she
yeah,
likes it. Um,
yeah,
but yeah, I try to do those things because I don't want her to see the exhausted side of me, because working 12 hours at a hospital
yeah,
is draining, like
yeah.
physically and mentally. And so, and she's like, all you do is work, even though I have all the other days off. I'm like, hello. But she doesn't see it that
Oh
way.
yeah,
So, I mean, it is a balance. Like you said, it is a huge balance. And it's also hard. And I'm just being transparent and honest. It's hard because of the big gap in my kids' age that my oldest ones are jealous, and not the second one. The
oh,
oldest one is jealous because my daughter got to go to Disney, and I didn't think he wanted to go. He works two jobs and he's a grown man. He has had his own place for years,
yeah,
and so my daughter was like not bragging, but just talking to him. And he's like, how dare you get to go to Disney? And like flipped out on her. And she's 12 years younger than him. And I'm like, hey, man, calm down. But and then that makes me feel bad as a parent that I couldn't afford to do those things. I didn't have time to do those things. At one point when I was raising them by myself, both of them, I was working 80 hours a week. 80 hours a week. I got really sick. I never saw them. And then that's when I stopped restaurant management and was like, nope, can't do this anymore because I wasn't present for them at all. Like any part of me, they never really saw. And I was like, no, that's not the way I'm going to parent my kids. So, again, it's a balance. Do your best and don't be scared to ask for help because it's a village. It takes a village to raise kids. So don't be scared to ask for help. I'm not saying go beg for money, but I'm saying like if somebody can maybe drive your kid home from something and you can't ask for help. And
that's right.
It's just, I mean, you can't do everything. Just like you said, you can't do it all without mentally, slipping because it gets to the point where it's just you get overwhelmed and burnt out. So but anyway.
I'm very hard at doing I'm very hard at doing the little things like the getting them, like I was fine at getting them to the dentist, but then we changed insurance. Like something like this just like shuts me down. Like I can make a CD in a day and I can talk in front of thousands of people, right? But so we changed our insurance, so now we need to have a new dentist.
Right.
And then then I have to find the new dentist, and then I've got to set up for 5 kids' appointments, and they're all at schools in different times. And so now my kids all of a sudden have gone to dentist for a year. And it's like, I got it. I'm going to do it. Okay. It'll be happen. Hopefully by the time it comes out. Not to mention orthodonture. I'm watching some of these kids are getting their braces off. And I'm like, but then we changed insurances. And then it like certain things, they just shut me down. And it's like, it says it's only $1,500 out of pocket. But then I got the consultation and it was like, well, that's for this. But then the rest you have to pay for, and it's just like, there are some things I'm really, really bad at that some moms are so good at.
And there's some, that is okay.
Different kind of mom.
It's the same thing. I'm the same way. So like there's some things I'm very, very good at that people are like, oh my gosh, good job. And then there's some things that other people, simple things that they're good at, then I'm like, oh, I'm lost. I can't catch up with this.
Totally.
And it's just, we're all different. The whole journey, every kid is different.
Always meet me. Everybody's different. People always meet me, and all these moms are like, "Oh my God, 5 kids, 5 dogs. How do you do it? And you work, and I do it by not getting my kids to the dentist. It seems like it's like the way that you get your kids to the dentist, but you don't have all this. It's just we're all different.
So funny.
I will get them to the dentist though.
Yes. Believe me, my daughter reminds me, don't worry, I'm in the same boat. I need to get her to the dentist really bad too. She keeps telling me, she's like, my friend just went to, I'm like, okay. So anyway, I need to do the same thing. Thank you for reminding me. Okay. Now, where can we find you? Like, where do we find the voice lessons to go? Right. I said it right this time. And
well, I have a website. Website, voicelessons2go.com. It's TOGO. So voicelessons2go.com. You can see me on YouTube. So youtube.com/voice lessons to go. And I have all kinds of videos on there. And so then I have my new podcast is Momentum. It's available everywhere, but because Momentum is spelled exactly like momentum, the word momentum. You need to put my name in there. So you could do like Momentum Ariella, like Ariella, and it'll pop up. So I'm on all the platforms. And then the Talented Magical Mommies Club, it'll be out on all the platforms by the time this airs. And what else do I got? If you want a vocal assessment of your voice, go to my website, Voice Lessons to Go, and that's super fun. And I'll let you know what I think about your voice. But yeah, that's my stuff.
Awesome. Do you have any like social media too that people can follow you, or do you?
I've got Instagram. I have everything. Just search me as I'm on TikTok. That's interesting.
Woohoo.
I can maybe in your description I'll send you a thing of the links so I don't have to name all of them. But I'm on everything. I'm on everything with all the things.
All of the things. I do all the things. I'm on all the things. No.
It's quite overwhelming. And I've been making I've been making reels left and right. I mean, that's kind of a new thing, like, because I had stopped for many years and now there's this whole reels thing.
I love reels.
So yeah, well, I'm new to it. I've been doing it every day. So yeah.
I've missed a couple. I was doing it every day. I think I've missed a couple of of days maybe, but I need to get back better at it. But yeah, so when I started doing reels and I figured it out, I was so corny that I would say like, this is my first reel and I'm really excited. This is my second reel and I was
Yeah.
my daughter is like, oh no, don't do this. Embarrassing. But anyway, it's because I love it and fun. See, like I use the comedy and everything. Like I'm like, whatever. Like, unfortunately, I was on a grief podcast and talking about my brother's situation, which is like really tragic, and that's why I want to be a grief coach. But and then we were even laughing on that. Like, and then she was like, I love
But
how
that's
you
great.
yeah. But then I felt bad because she was like, wow, I don't get to really, laugh because it's a serious thing. I was like, I'm sorry, but it was just, I don't know. But you find the humor in everything.
Well,
like
that's the thing.
Go ahead.
Yeah. That's the thing. Like I started taking the improv classes, and now all of a sudden I've noticed like my personality has opened back up to what I used to be like. Because it's not even for the improv. It's just my regular life. Like I always used to do weird voices and just funny accents all the time, and I was goofy all the time. And I was so tired for so long as a mom that I stopped doing all of it. And I know my kids have noticed the difference. And I feel so much better about myself now too. I feel like, oh, my voice is back, my inner voice. So
Awesome.
so you can use that comedy for anything you do.
Yeah. And it makes you feel better. It's like a release. I need to exercise, but I don't. But it's my it's like my stress reliever right now, like laughing and like, just like having a good time because you got to find the humor in a lot of things. And then you can actually heal better and you can get through things better if you just find like the crazy part of it and you're just like, you know what, that's so crazy. It's funny. And but anyway, so thank you so much. I'm gonna try to say your name again. Okay.
Ariella.
I was like, I was gonna try, but you already said it in Ariella. Okay. It's so beautiful. So I had so much fun with you. See, look, migraine, what? Whoop. It's I
was watching. I'm like, I bet her migraine's gone. She looks great.
Yeah, thank you. I feel better. So that's the thing. See, laughter healed me. See, look, I like to sing. I'm not a good singer, and I like to fake sing. See, all the time.
Yeah, that's awesome.
All right. Well, if you ever want to have me as a guest, I would love to be on your magic.
I want you on the Talented Magical Mommies Club.
Yeah,
I want to talk to you about that comedian part of yourself. I think that's really cool because I love that because that's something that's bursting out of you. I love that.
It's busting at the seams. No, I'm just
yeah, but you're using it in your life, and I find that fascinating.
Thank you. It took me forever to do it. And a lot of pushes from my boyfriend who was like, just try it. I'm like, okay. But again, everybody try something if you can balance it with having kids. I had to wait to become a nurse until they got a little bit older because I was a single mom. And so, and then I went for the career that I always wanted because I wanted to be a nurse since I was little. But, I had to put it off because my son has ADHD and Asperger's and all this stuff. And so I had to make sure that he was okay. And my other one as well. And then I got to do it, so you don't put it off forever. You can come back to it like Ariella said.
And that's okay. And that's part of the advice thing. That's okay. It's not a thing about regrets. It's like, where are you right now? And how can you feel your life right now? What can you take on and what can't you take on? It's all okay.
Yeah. And I'm so proud of you for getting back into improv. It's so fun.
Thank you.
Maybe you'll get on SNL. No, I love it.
Well, I am pretty old for that, but maybe I could do voiceover work, do something fun, So I'm hoping something fun will happen. We'll see.
You have equipment to do it.
Yes, I have equipment.
Yes. See, you'll sound better than me. No.
I'm not trying. I'm not competing.
Oh no, this is not a competition. But you won. But it's not a competition.
I would win, but yes. No.
That's right. Let's clarify who the winner is in the non-competition. No.
Yeah, totally.
We're having too much fun. It's like talking to a girlfriend or something. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you. Good luck on the new podcast as well. And again, reach out to me. I would gladly come on and talk to you
100%.
and have fun with it. And I'm so proud of you for like, chasing your dreams again and still doing your thing with your teaching and all that stuff and taking care of your kids, but you're still getting back and finding your voice. So thank you. You've been a great guest. I have had so much fun and you healed my migraine. You have a great day.
You too. Ciao.
Thanks. Bye. Thanks for listening to Authentic Points of View podcast. I hope that something you heard today changes your point of view. If you would like to share your views, please email me at authenticpointsofview@gmail.com or leave a comment on Facebook at Authentic Points of View podcast. Remember, always be mindful of other people's journeys and have open ears and an open heart.